We're back in the Bronx Journal discussing Professor Rosen's book, Boomtown, and Boomtown, How Walmart Transformed an All-American Town into an International Community. And here's what the book looks like. And Professor, we were talking about this federal regulation that was mostly implemented during the Bush administration, very controversial now because there's a sheriff out in Phoenix, near Phoenix, Arizona, that's really, implementing this this regulation not to the liking of a lot of people in the Latino community because he's arresting a lot of undocumented immigrants. And we're talking about this law that allows the local municipalities to arrest undocumented immigrants as opposed to just the federal agents. And you say that's caused problems in Arkansas.
Yeah, for sure. They send policemen, a special group of policemen up to train with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Then they come back into town. And supposedly, they're not supposed to stop people and ask for their documentation, but if a person, say, runs a red light or commits some kind of felony and he doesn't have documentation, then he can be immediately sent to a detention center and deported, never see his family again.
The complaint is that this regulation leads to racial profiling of Latinos.
It does.
Because people assume that they're illegal when they may not be.
Right, right. And it's created a lot of fear in almost all the communities where it's been implemented. And it was implemented in Northwest Arkansas in September 2007. And for a while, it scared a lot of immigrants. A lot of families where there were undocumented workers, even documented, they were afraid to go outside. I mean, I've heard stories of people who've fallen and broken their legs and didn't want to go to the hospital because they might be harassed or sent to detention.
Well, all along, the people who have been opposed to this regulation are the people who say that, look, illegal immigrants are going to be afraid of even reporting a fire down the street because they don't want to call the cops if the cops are going to end up arresting them.
That's right.
Or reporting a crime. This may be otherwise law-abiding citizens, except for the fact that they came illegally, who are not going to get involved with the police even when they should be involved with the police.
Exactly. And, I think locals or police enforcers are fearful that they're not getting Hispanic women who are being abused are not calling in order to protect themselves.
Domestic violence and so forth, yes, of course.
Mm-hmm. Even though there are special U visas for them, sometimes there's a violation of...
they're even afraid right now of even participating in the census. You can imagine talking to police officers. It makes it very, very difficult.
Exactly.
But again, let's go back to your book and what you found there in Arkansas. This has been a cause of friction, you say, this policy, but was that something underlying there that this has basically brought up, the issue of undocumented immigrants? Are people upset because a lot of these new immigrants are undocumented?
I think people are upset because of that, but I think by and large they're upset because there are so many Hispanic immigrants who've come into town.
So it's just the volume of the change.
The volume of the change, and the idea that so many of these people, the immigrants, their children don't speak English, they don't speak English. It's created burdens in the high schools and the elementary schools.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Next question. What's happening in the schools in terms of bringing these people into the fold, into the American mainstream, the young kids?
I think the schools are trying. They have issues. I think Springdale and Rogers are doing better because they have such a much bigger population of Hispanics. In Springdale, the students made a diversity mural, and there are all sorts of diversity seminars. And in both Springdale and Rogers, there are Hispanic liaisons for the students, between the students and the faculty and the students and the community. So they're really trying. They need a lot of translators, a lot of people who can speak both English and Spanish. Bentonville is trying too. There are fewer Hispanics in Bentonville. I think it's 10%.
Just recently I was watching a CNN special, very much publicized, Latino in America. And in Latino in America, they dealt with that specific problems in terms of schools and churches. And they featured in particular a church, I remember, where the church had a Hispanic congregation and an American congregation. And they couldn't find a way to bring all of these two separate congregations under one roof. They couldn't bring them together. Is that what's happening in the church, at the churches there? Is there that kind of division where, you know, they live side by side, but somehow the people are still not coming together?
You know, the Hispanics that I know in Northwest Arkansas worship at churches with whites.
Same
yes.
mass, for
yes.
example. Yes.
Yes,
okay.
they do. I mean, although I'm sure many would like to go to Spanish masses. Yes, they do. And there are so many churches. I mean, in Northwest Arkansas, there are like 480 churches. There's a huge number of churches, so people can really find the churches that they feel comfortable in. But I haven't heard that that's the problem.
There's a misconception around this country that Hispanics or immigrants in general don't want to learn English. I suppose that that's a problem everywhere, but when you think of Arkansas, you would think that if you're Hispanic and you're going to Arkansas and you don't want to learn English, you're crazy. Because you do need it there, more than in the Bronx, right?
You do need it there, much more than in the Bronx. But less and less. I mean, more, you know, yes, you do need it, and everybody should make an effort.
And when you go there, you got to be in that frame of mind that you need to adjust.
Well, it's harder for the adults. It's easier for kids, as it always is. But for people who come to America in their 20s and 30s, and they work only with other Hispanics, they're not pressed to learn English. They work with other Hispanics. They live with other Hispanics. They don't feel that necessity.
Well, that happens in every ethnic community, that for a while people cling to their culture and they're not willing to participate in or get into the mainstream when they should, because that's how you get ahead. You
know, there's another interesting aspect to the influx of Hispanics in Northwest Arkansas. There's been a huge fear of gangs, and you know,
is that a growing problem?
I don't think it's really a problem, but they've made a few draconian punishments for Hispanic teenagers who've been involved in painting graffiti on local buildings, sent away to prison for a year. Right? And that doesn't happen in the Bronx.
Marjorie, we have to go. I thank you very much for coming on the show. I wish you good luck with the book. I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm looking forward to reading it. I just got a copy of it myself. You have to sign it for me.
Oh,
okay?
I'd love to. I'd love to. Thank
Marjorie
you.
Rosen, and the name of the book is Boomtown. So I hope you get a copy of it. And we'll be right back.